of 11 a.m. But I couldn't say no to this incredible woman, Green. She is the queen right now. She is allowing all of these incredible things to happen. I'm so grateful for her and for her asking me to be here today. So I'm gonna need y'all help because we black in here, so we're gonna sing the Negro National Anthem. Okay. But I'm gonna need y'all support. We can all sing it, yes. Hey, supervisor. How you doing? I got my glasses on, I can't see by anymore. All right, this is the key I'm gonna start in. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun, our brand new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Give yourself a round of applause. The interactive part of the program is over. Not quite. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We must say our thanks this morning. First, under the guidance and leadership of our tribal leaders here in San Francisco, we acknowledge that we are on the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. As the indigenous stewards of this land, and in accordance with the traditions, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as the caretakers of this place. We, and all of us, must acknowledge all peoples who reside in their traditional territory. As guests, we recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland. We wish to pay our respects by acknowledging the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush community, and by affirming their sovereignty and the sovereign rights as First Peoples. We also acknowledge the Black pioneers and leaders of San Francisco, starting in the 1800s, including Mary Ellen Pleasant and William Leetsdorf, to Maya Angelou and Mayor Willie L. Brown. Our history in San Francisco is rich and deep. It is my great honor to introduce a shining light of our current generation of leadership, Dr. Saida Leah Tutufu Birch, the director of the
Thank you, Chair Clopton. Chair Clopton serves as the chair of the San Francisco Human Rights Commission, so thank you for that introduction. So just about a year ago, I was before y'all and I was professing that I was Black first. And I am happy to say that today I am still Black first. And excited to be in this room. My name is Dr. Saida Leah Tutufu Birch, and I am a Black and Indigenous Samoan wife, daughter, sister, organizer, cultural orator, disruptor of anti-Black racism and systems rooted in white supremacist ideology, and advancer of Black liberation and Indigenous I am also blessed to serve as the director of the Dream Keeper Initiative with the San Francisco Human Rights Commission. It is with immense gratitude that I welcome you to the second annual Dream Keeper Initiative celebration and call to action, Dreaming Forward, a celebration of Black joy, power, and excellence. I must say that Black joy, Black power, and Black excellence is present in this room today. A couple of years ago, when cities and corporations alike pledged investments to Black lives in response to our brothers and sisters losing their lives at the hands of police, Black San Francisco organized, and in response, San Francisco actually made the investment. Through the leadership of Mayor London Breed, Dr. Sheryl Davis, Supervisor Shaman Walton, community, and many more, the Dream Keeper Initiative invests $60 million a year to ensure that San Francisco's diverse Black communities can experience joy and feelings of safety, can advance economically and educationally, and are holistically healthy and thriving.
Yes.
The Dream Keeper Initiative is about creating an environment where Black San Franciscans can experience prosperity, liberation, and imagine a future here in the city. This work is impossible without every single person in this room, and I'd like to acknowledge and express my immense gratitude again to Mayor Breed and Director Dr. Sheryl Davis, Supervisor Walton for their courageous leadership. Thank you to community in this space and online who continues to hold us accountable every single day. There is also a team of folks that are behind the work in city government who are willing and accepting of being held accountable. So a specific thank you to the Dream Keeper team within the Human Rights Commission, Pearl Gilton, Lila Vega, Josh Harrison, James Lockhart, Stephanie Garcia, Becky LaDolce, and Chidima Ohanale. Thank you. Thank you to our departmental partners, the Office of Economic and Workforce Development. I see Josh Arce, Janan, David, Jerry, all those folks in the room. The Department of Early Childhood, the Department of Children, Youth, and Their Families, the Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development, the Department of Human Resources, the Fire Department, the Arts Commission, and the Department of Public Health, and to the 80+ community organizations who implement action all year long so that we may experience collective liberation. If I missed anyone, charge it to my head and not my heart. I am still grateful for you all. And so we have an amazing day planned for you today. An amazing lineup of speakers where we're going to hear how we apply what we learned from our past and bridge that to our future. We're going to hear from trailblazers. We're going to hear from leaders who are in the space. We're going to see the work in action. We have a series of concurrent workshops where you'll be able to see how our grantees of the Dream Keeper Initiative are implementing the work in community. And so, I charge you, How will you apply what you learned today? How will you dream forward? My pastor opened the year with the statement to me: the tools you use to survive will no longer serve you now that it's time to thrive.
Come on. Come on. Talk about it.
The tools you use to survive will no longer serve you now that it's time to thrive. So, in a time when our joy, peace, and very being are constantly under attack, I am grateful to not only know how to survive, but be intentional about thriving. I am grateful to be filled with the spirit of our ancestors to, in the words of Curtis Mayfield, keep on keeping on. I am grateful that Nat kept rebelling and Harriet kept going back. I am grateful that Mary McLeod Bethune kept teaching and Frederick kept abolishing. I am grateful that Baldwin kept writing, that Martin kept walking, that Rosa kept sitting, that Malcolm kept applying pressure, that Stokely, Huey, and Angela kept organizing, that Shirley kept bringing that folding chair, that Mahalia kept singing, and I am grateful that Black San Franciscans will keep illuminating the Black joy, Black power, Black excellence that is here, that has always been here, and that will always be here. So I am grateful for your presence today, and that you are in space, and that you will continue to dream forward. So with that, it is my honor and pleasure to introduce who I consider a mentor, who I honor and am blessed to work with, the director of the Human Rights Commission, Dr. Sheryl Evans Davis.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, y'all are kind of used to it. It was a better sound. Usually I'm like, y'all not just like, Rodney, y'all gotta wake up. I know. Y'all not used to being at work this early, huh? Yes, with the clothes on. I was like, I wanted to say something and I didn't want y'all to be like, oh, she thinks she's all that. So I was gonna say a true sign of a genius, and I was like, oh, I don't think I'm a genius. I'm just using this as
We know you're a genius.
is to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you.
That's right.
And I have to say, although I don't think it was that smart of me to have Saida go ahead of me. I am just really grateful and beyond blessed. I will say, I told my son one time, I was like, I need him to get a good job so he can take care of me and I don't have to work anymore. And he was like, you would never stop working. Like, I'm really fortunate to do things that I would do even if I was rich and didn't have to work. And I am grateful to be able to work with people like Dr. Sy and the whole Human Rights Commission team that I fully believe that even if they hit the lottery tomorrow, would still be doing the same work. And so we're here today because it really is about how do we dream forward, because even in the midst of just unbelievable trauma and hurt and harm, that folks still have the ability to hope and to dream and to believe that things can get better. And so the last year has been an amazing testament, not just to the ability to hope, but actually the power of hope and the power of the people who believe that things can get better and to invest in that. And so today we celebrate the community. Yes, give the community
Yes.
around promises, right? They still believed and hoped and then actually implemented. And so I'm grateful for right now the ability to actually introduce someone who has continued to hope and challenge and to elevate and amplify even when folks weren't ready. Now folks talk about Black Lives Matter and it's used and it's repeated all the time in a way that maybe 5 years ago folks would have, said that it was socialist propaganda, and now it's become mainstream conversation. And in the same way, I was thinking when I saw Assessor Recorder Torres, like there was a time when we would have never imagined to be able to talk about investing in Black people and actually giving money to Black folks to run and take care of themselves and trust them to be able to do that. And we're in that space and place thanks to Supervisor Walton and Mayor Breed. So I want to thank them for their commitment and dedication. And we are not beyond or without criticism. Folks do not wake up one day and are perfect. And we accept that, right? Like there's a line in the John Legends, you know, that perfect imperfections, like I love imperfect, right? That's what makes us all unique and special. And the minute that we all start to act the same and be the same, we've lost what is pure and beautiful.
Right.
So with that, I want to invite up Alicia Garza. I think the challenge for us was to have this conversation with the Black Futures Lab. The work that she is doing is taking what we know just within our hearts and anecdotally and quantifying that, right? Doing the research to document and talk about, and to also make sure that we understand the narrative of data. And I think that that is really important because we can tell stories all day long, but some folks don't hear us and don't believe us without the data to back it up.
Yeah.
And so as we continue to do this, unfortunately, we do have to quantify our dreams. And I think that Alicia Garza has allowed us to go from where Langston Hughes charged us to hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. She wants us to fly. And she knows that in order to fly, we have to have our dreams to be able to show us which way to go, but that the data actually propels us and allows us to stay in the air just like an airplane. Right, so as we move forward, Saida, Dr. Sai gave you the call to action. We want to inspire, we want to give you the hope, we want to give you the belief, but we also want to give you the tools. And I believe that Alicia Garza has laid a roadmap in terms of her life, in terms of her work, but also in terms of the future that can help us be better for our communities and better for the future. So please give it up for Alicia.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. My name is Alicia Garza, and I believe that Black communities deserve to be powerful in every aspect of our lives. I'm really happy to be here with y'all this morning. And I'm hoping that I can open up what is sure to be an excellent event today. First and foremost, I want to take a minute to just thank our fierce and fearless leader, Sheryl Evans Davis. Now, she's over here trying to organize everything, but I do want to just say, Sheryl, to you directly, that you are leading such important conversations. And you're creating the kind of space that has needed to be here for a very long time. I want to thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. And as somebody whose family is fourth generation San Franciscan, it really means a lot to me to be here with you today. I gotta be honest with y'all, only Sheryl could get me to come. I'm like kicking back these days. I gotta be honest, I mean, I really have stopped doing Black History Month things. For the most part. But of course, when Sheryl asks, you know, you just be like, yeah, I'm trying to come home. I miss the Bay. I live in Atlanta now. I'm one of the people who had to go because I just can't pay $4,000 a month to live here, my home. I don't miss these rents. But I miss the Bay. I don't miss looking for us and having to search for where we are.
Yeah, speak it. Yes.
I remember when it wasn't so hard to find us. I remember when our stamp was as visible as we were on this city. Today, where jazz clubs once stood, where my grandfather played music, lies a plaque that tourists step on to get to the beer garden. The house my grandfather and my uncle and my cousins grew up in, the house where we would go for Super Bowl Sunday. I wasn't into football, but I was into them oxtails.
That house just got sold for several $1 million. And it's stale and whitewashed now. My critics would say, nothing remains the same. And I retort the same that I always do, that that's not the point. The point is that the neighborhoods where we raised our families and learned how to ride bikes, where we came together as families, have been sold to the highest bidder in the name of nothing remaining.
acclimated in success, and so we had to compact it down. So here next to me we have Dr. Xavier Buck, who is the Deputy Director of the Dr. Huey P. Newton Foundation. Next to me we have Mrs. Frederica Newton, who is the co-founder of the Dr. Huey P. Newton Foundation. We have Supervisor Shaman Watson, who is the District 10 Supervisor. And last but not least, we have Miss Alicia Garza. So we're gonna just kick it right off. And this question I'm gonna start with is for Mrs. Newton and Dr. Buck. Historically, the Black Panther Party was established to dismantle the over-militarization of our Black communities and to protect the Black community against police brutality. The Panthers also implemented survival programs to meet the basic needs to survive, and this has been across generations. Why was this initiative so important to launch at the time, and what can be said about the work?
First of all, thank you so much for having me here today. It's wonderful to see you, Alicia.
So good to see you.
I think this was my very first panel a few years ago that I was sitting on with you and terrified. Terrified, really, that this legacy had been left in my lap so many years ago when my husband died, and I felt totally unprepared to hold it. And for many years, did what I could to, even though we created the Dr. Huey P. Newton 27 years ago, I didn't feel that I had the capability to hold this legacy. And through examples of people like you and many others in this room, I've been bolstered up. And God just gave me what it was that I love that I don't know about all that. Has people around you that are smarter than me, and that's exactly what I did. With my executive director, he's no longer the deputy executive director, my right hand man here, Dr. Xavier Buck. So I'm very, very grateful to be here this morning. And to talk about the legacy of this party and of my late husband, who was not only my husband, who was my comrade and my leader and my thought partner, and I miss him still today.
Yes.
So in 1966, when the Black Panther Party was started, the conditions were not unlike they are today. Black people were getting brutalized and killed in the streets. Children couldn't even walk across the streets safely. There were no street lights in Black communities, so kids were getting mowed down. There was no sickle cell testing for our community. Sickle cell, kids were dying. There was no lead poisoning testing there. Kids, lead and paint is sweet, so little children the cribs were not near the walls, and they were peeling off the paint from the walls and dying, and there was nothing to be done to protect them or to even analyze if this is what was going on in the community. So the Black Panther Party stepped up with a gun in one hand and a law book in the other. These were two students who went out to the community who had the courage, not unlike any of you in this room, to say this is enough. This is enough. And so they created not only breakfast for school children programs, but over 65 community survival programs, not just to, like you say, to provide social services, but to organize. These children would come to these programs and not only get fed in their stomachs, but get fed in their minds. We had to know what the foundation of that Black Panther Party was, and that was a 10-point platform. They had to, every week there were political education classes, not just for the members of the party, but for the community as well. We understood that this was a vehicle for organizing and a vehicle for change. That if we met the community, met their basic needs that the government was not providing, not unlike today, that the government does not provide, then we could use this as a way to organize the community, and the community loved the Black Panther Party. You would see images in the newspapers about menacing Black men with guns, but you never saw images in the newspaper at 5 o'clock in the morning when these same men were over stoves, were cooking eggs and grits to feed these children so that they didn't have to go to school hungry in the morning. Or women. Let's not forget about the women.
Yes.
In the papers, you never saw women in the mass media, but at one point there was almost 70% of the membership of the Black Panther Party were women. Not only members, but leadership. At one time, the Central Committee was comprised almost entirely of women. So that's the work that we did. The average age was 19. I knew members that were 15, and we just saw a need and filled it in our community. So the very same people that we see sleeping on streets today were people who own houses on the very street that they live sleeping on right now. So we're not, the kids then, I mean the Black Panther Party members then, were not unlike these warriors that are out there today. I've forgotten the question.
You're doing fine. You're doing
Thank you
fine.
so much. I'm a little fired up. So, today we're doing the work to make sure that that legacy is known, because I can't see you, because it's been maligned, it's been bastardized, it's been erased. And that's the work that we're doing today with the Dr. Huey P. Newton Foundation and brilliant, courageous folks like I got right beside me to my left. And so yeah, it's even as much or more vital today. And today you have tools that we didn't have. We had the Black Panther Party newspaper that came out weekly for 13 years. Today, we're you see it in real time, so go for it.
Dr. Buck, did you want to speak to that as well?
So I can add on. One of the greatest things I take from the Black Panther Party is how strategic they were and how they changed over time. We talk about how they had guns, and yes, they were for self-defense. There were very real reasons to protect ourselves from police brutality. But Huey P. Newton also knew that you had a group of black brothers with guns, you were finally teaching black people in Oakland specifically and around the country that they had a right to bear arms, right? That was their constitutional right. And yet black folk were getting brutalized left and right, killed in the streets, and didn't realize they could protect themselves and had rights. That's why it's so important that we know that they held a gun in one hand and a law book in the other. And it wasn't until Governor Ronald Reagan and the NRA outlawed concealed carry that all of a sudden in California, you couldn't carry a gun like they had in the beginning. Now over time they changed, and so we talk about the survival programs, over 65 survival programs. Those weren't initially there. They evolved because they understood their community. They did community engagement. They didn't have data like we understand it now because the FBI was constantly raiding their offices. But they collected data and they shared it amongst themselves and said, we should respond to the community in this way. So one time they may have had leather jackets and holding shotguns, but they realized at some point that for some community members, they had ostracized themselves from them. And so they decided to wear plain clothes, go into the community and provide free breakfast, provide free clothing. They had a shoe factory, we're giving kids shoes. They created an open community school. They had pest control. We know that prisons in California are far away from urban centers where most of us come from, and so they started busing families to the prisons so that the families wouldn't be broken apart, right? These are the things that the community wanted, and so by providing those basic needs, now you had the community, in line with you, right? And you were in line with the community. So when you provide free breakfast to kids, now they can ask the question, why was I hungry in the first place? Why is everybody in my community hungry? Why are we struggling to live from day to day? And that's when you start to realize that there are systems in place, that capitalism is in place to keep us behind. And so once you have that question that's been asked, now you can organize a mass of people around stopping hunger in your community, around stopping mass incarceration in your community, around stopping police brutality and over-policing in your community. And that's when all of a sudden they pivoted to being in electoral politics and got the first black mayor of Oakland elected, Lionel Wilson. So there's a trajectory that has changed over time, and the strategy changed over time based on that community engagement. And so even, I take that tool today, right? And so we're developing a museum in Oakland, the Dr. Huey P. Newton Center for Research and Action. That's the kind of ideas that we are engaging with. What does our community need right now? How can we meet those basic needs? Use it as an organizing tool and completely change the trajectory of Black lives. That's it.
I want to pivot over to you, Supervisor Walton, just off the basic needs that Dr. Buck mentioned. Can you highlight some of the tools that are happening today that were from the past and currently being used in San Francisco to advance our current efforts for social movements?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, and just want to say I appreciate the opportunity to even be up here with this strong panel. You know, there's a lot of things that we have been working on here in San Francisco, and I think it is incredibly important to really understand what the Dream Keeper Initiative represents for us here and the work around reparations. To your point, you know, we've always had programs in the schools, after school programs. We've always supported Black organizations. But what we were able to do with the Dream Keeper Initiative is to carve out a specific amount of dollars that we know will be going to the Black community consistently every year to the tune of $60 million. And people think that that is a lot of money, but if you look at the data, if you look at the outcomes, if you look at all the negative effects for Black people over decades here in San Francisco, and of course over centuries in this country, you will understand that $60 million is a drop in the bucket.
That's right. That's right.
And when we talk about reparations, and we talk about what's owed to the Black community, and we start having recommendations and things that we put in place, like a $5 million allotment, like free education, like money for home ownership, like making sure that people who are over-criminalized have an opportunity at life, because in some cases, they were criminalized for things that we allow everybody to do today.
That's right.
Then the problems start occurring, right? And I know the question was about carrying the legacy of what our Black Panther Party did, but also I have to talk about where we are today and what's happening right now, just because of a conversation. We have people who serve on the Legislative Reparations Task Force in San Francisco being threatened every day by people across this country, quite people here in San Francisco. We have people who have a misconception and think that because they weren't someone who enslaved someone personally, that the fact that they benefit from the transfer of wealth, the transfer of property, having wealth passed down to them, that they're not a part of the problem and the issue. We have people who say that we are racist because we're fighting to make sure that we can do everything we can to have an opportunity for Black people to be successful. So I just say, you know, in my role, obviously I have to listen to my community and try to come up with legislation strategies and solutions that are going to be beneficial to them. But like Alicia stated earlier, you know, it gets easier to want to say no because it's a lot of BS out there, right?
That's right.
You know, and the sickest part and the craziest part for me in this work is most of the friction that we get. I could care less about what these other folks say, right? I expect it. But most of the friction we get is from our own people.
That's right.
Not understanding that we all play a role in this struggle and this fight. It's okay to be the one who focuses on this area. It's okay to be the one that focuses on this area. And how do we bring all that strength together so that we can speak and move as one unit and be that fist that we need in the community? So we are working, of course, to continue the legacy of the Black Panther Party, to make sure that we bring all of the work of all of our most polarizing and most celebrated members of our history together and do it in a manner where we actually do achieve power and we actually can get things done, because just having a Black mayor, just having a Black supervisor, just having Black department heads is never going to be enough if we're not able to really gain power in this work.
Around power and the Black Future Lab. Black Future Lab is similar to this crazy revival of the civil rights movement of the 60s. And so can you tell us more about the Black Future Labs, how you're organizing and adopting tools from the past and using it here in the present, and what we're looking for in the future for Black Future Labs?
I'm so glad you asked that question. So the Black Futures Lab, we started in 2018 with a project called the Black Census Project. And the goal of that was to really get to know our people and what it is that we want and what it is that we deal with every single day, and to engage us in the question of how would you change it? You know, We conducted the largest survey of Black people in America in 157 years with that project. Now, I feel good about that, but I also want to say that we did that 30,000 people. Why is that the largest survey of Black people in 157 years, right? From that data, what we found was a lot of things about our conditions, a lot of things about how we thought about issues and what we wanted to see done about them. You can find all that stuff on our website. But the most important thing that came out of that project was that almost everybody we talked to said, nobody's ever asked me what I deal with every day and what I want to see for my future. And that does not bode well for a democracy where we are supposed to be moving public policy for the public. If most people said, I've never been asked, then that means there's all kinds of laws and rules being made about us without us every single day. And that is part of the problem that we're trying to address. We don't keep this data on a shelf. We actually took the data back out into communities and held town hall meetings to talk to people, elected officials, community members, members of the media, so that that data could become yours. That data is free to access. We organized, we also used it as a tool to organize. So we invested over $1 million in Black-led grassroots organizations in 26 states across the country to be able to take this tool and start talking to people. Not behind Facebook and Instagram and all these things that we don't own and don't belong to us, but knocking on people's doors. We took the survey into prisons and jails so that people could be heard. And we take that data and we turn it into a legislative agenda. That legislative agenda is called the Black Agenda 2020, and it lays out a series of policy recommendations for what you can do right now to make Black lives matter in the economy, in our environment, in every aspect that you can think of. We also do a lot of work at the Black Futures Lab and the Action Fund to make sure that we're activating and motivating Black voters. We get talked about and talked around all the time, but Black voters are the most powerful constituency in this country, and it's time, right, that we engage in politics, not on the basis of personalities. There's a lot of people I like that I don't want representing me. You understand what I'm saying? So what we do in that vein is we activate and motivate Black voters. We make sure that our communities are educated about the issues that are impacting us every single day, the laws that are impacting us every single day, and we force politicians and elected officials to engage with us substantively, not symbolically. I don't need no fried chicken. I fry good chicken. What we need, right, is resources in our communities. We want to know, what are you doing about healthcare? We want to know, what are you doing about affordable housing? We want to know, what are you doing about policing? Don't come to our communities and eat our greens. You understand what I'm saying? Don't come to our communities and eat our greens, but not change rules in our communities that are going to benefit us. So that's the work that we do at the lab. And then on the Action Fund side, we also invest in Black candidates that we want to see representing us. And we make sure that those candidates, it's not just because they're Black, it's their allegiance and their adherence to an agenda that was designed based off the feedback of the largest survey of Black people in 157 years. So that's the work that we do at the lab and the Action Fund. And I just want to say, if you want to take the Black census, it's still open. We're doing another round. We're going for 200,000 responses. That will make us the largest survey of Black people in American history. And we're working on creating a legislative agenda for 2024, because we already know what time it's about to be.
That's right.
So join us, blackcensus.org.
I want to speak on that and move to access around communication. And so I'll move to you, Dr. Buck, and Alicia, feel free to jump in, and any others. Social media can spark a cross-generational movement in seconds, right? So what role is tech playing in the continuous efforts of the Black movement toward Black liberation?
Yeah, so the Black Panther Party, they had a 10-point platform. And in that 10th point, they said that we want people's community control over modern technology. This was written in '67. All of a sudden, we happen to be in the tech capital of the world, the San Francisco Bay Area. And one part of the reason we call it the Dr. Hugh Penman Center for Research and Action is because that action part is extremely important, and we understand that we can leverage the technology here. So what we think of is, well, if we understand survival programs where we went to the community, understood the community, and then you create a program out of that, out of the conditions that exist, well, why can't we do that with app development? Why can't we do that with a series of technology at our hands? There are apps that can be created to alleviate social problems, used to then organize people, used to then get people at the polls and change electoral politics. We can do the exact same thing at a much faster rate. Right, the whole thing, not all of technology is decentralized because we understand tech companies have a lot of power and wealth that they're hoarding to themselves. But there are a lot of tools at our hands that we can quickly look up with a Google search that have decentralized technology and that can move movements much faster. And we've seen that, right? I think when I think about Black Lives Matter, I mean, it blew up out of nowhere. Not out of nowhere, you were doing work, but you know what I mean? Like overnight, it seemed like. And stuff like that wasn't necessarily possible. The Black Panther Party didn't blow up overnight, right? Their biggest events is they escorted Betty Shabazz after Malcolm was killed at San Francisco airport and protected her. There was a case in North Richmond where Denzel Dow, a young black man, was killed, and when nobody else would come out, they went out and protected the community. When they marched to the Capitol and state capital, Sacramento, with guns to protest gun regulation, right? There are these big events they had to do to become the most one of the most popular organizations of the 20th century. But nowadays, you know, with influencers around, with Instagram and TikTok and all this, there's ways to make movements popular and ground them in some really good work and to spread that information fast. So, you know, it's all about the speed of things. But I also never want to overstate what Instagram or social media can do because it can be very superficial. And so I say use it to spread information fast, right? You don't have to print a newspaper. Use it to spread information fast, to get the word out, but never forget about having foot soldiers on the ground doing the actual work. It's a tool, not the end all be all.
Thank you for that. So as we, I'm looking at the clock there, and director is looking at me with the mama stare like. As we talk about harnessing power, I would just love to hear briefly from all of you around, is true Black liberation, is it available? Can we harness it? Can we achieve this? And what will it take for us to ultimately get there?
Yes, it's possible. It's attainable. It's a marathon and not a sprint. It requires all of the things that folks have talked about, right? Honest conversations about how wealth was designed and developed in this country. It requires us to have a strategy and to be able to change our minds. It requires us to have people in leadership that have been intentionally kept away from helping make decisions about how we go forward. And it also requires, honestly, a real grappling with the trauma of Black life.
Yes.
The fact that every single day we have to remind ourselves that we matter, that we have rights, that we deserve, it takes a toll on us. And I don't think we talk about that enough. And we certainly don't have enough of the tools to engage that. I'll just say really quickly that one of the things I was just sitting here thinking about is the evolution of this movement of Black Lives Matter. And one of the most challenging things in this time is not just misinformation and disinformation, and that's challenging, it's also typical. But it is that most of us are moved to act because something wrong has happened. And so we are acting, but we are not resolving the impact of the wrong. And the wrong continues, so we have to continue, but there's not tools. We're not equipped with the tools to really support people who have been traumatized and terrorized and wounded.
Yes.
And so we take that out on each other. And it keeps us from being able to work effectively together. It's not because there's something inherently wrong with us.
Right.
It breaks my heart to hear that Black people are saying we don't need reparations. That kills me in my soul. And, right, that's intentional. It's intentional. If Black people say we don't need it, well then, Black people say we don't need it. Why are we doing this? You understand where I'm coming from? So my wish for us in our quest for Black liberation is to add that to our toolbox. It has to be a part of the organizing work. It has to be a part of the electoral work. It has to be a part of the service work. It has to be a part of how we keep our communities whole, intact, and engaged, but also connected and embodied.
Yeah, I like to think around racial trauma, we need to combat, recover, and then learn how to thrive through it. So we can move to you, Supervisor Walton, just around your thoughts around how to achieve true Black liberation.
Well, definitely, again, yes, we can. It's going to require true courage. It's going to require the elimination of a lot of ego. It's going to require folks to get on the same page and not be able to pull in different directions after you organize and come together and say, this is the focus and this is the plan. It's going to take folks to understand that we are always going to be stronger together.
Yes.
And we can't forget what happened to Emmett Till. We can't forget what happened to George Floyd. We can't forget what happened to Tyre Nichols. We can't just be reactive in situations. So a lot of focus on the real fight came out after George Floyd. We had folks really working to change law enforcement. We had folks even working to defund police departments and disintegrate police departments. And that narrative quickly went from that to let's get the police more money right here in San Francisco.
That's right.
We use resources from the Dreamkeeper Initiative to redirect resources away from the police department. And here we are in 2023 and we got folks calling for more money for police. So it's gonna take us to never forget how we were brought to this country, why we were brought to this country, that our women were raped, we couldn't be educated, we could not grow and build wealth. And we have to take that into the work every single day. Because I think if we take that to the work every single day, then we'll all be stronger. No matter what we do for a living, no matter what type of clothes we wear, I know when I walk in a room, suit, no suit, whatever, the first thing they see is a Black man.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's problematic. And when we all realize that, no matter your class, your station, and we stay focused on what we say we're gonna do, we can't be beat. But we gotta do that together.
That's right.
I say yes, we can. I don't think I'd still be doing this work at 71 years old if I didn't have the understanding in my heart to know that yes, we can. I think that one of the things that, as a young member of the Black Panther Party that I saw, that we didn't have what we thought was, what really actually was the leisure to do, was to take care of ourselves. To take care of ourselves emotionally, to take care of ourselves spiritually, to take care of ourselves mentally. And I think when we speak of trauma, we see that it's taken over 50 years for members of the Black Panther Party to even come forward and talk about their experiences.
Yes, come on.
Because of the trauma. Because of the trauma that we lived in 24/7 with 28 of our members being murdered, that we just lived in foxholes, we survived. So if I could pass anything on, that I know to be true is that we've got to take care of ourselves and we're no good to the community. We're not coming there whole, particularly women. So I absolutely feel yes we can. I know we can. And we've got to, and we've got to take care of ourselves in the meantime, whatever that looks like. There's got to be a balance, and we didn't have the leisure to do that during that time. And I think it's imperative that we figure out how to do it today.
One thing about the Black Panther Party is that the survival programs and the political education that provided the communities was, on one hand, was about getting people ready for revolution. Right? They understood that people were not ready yet. And so for me, well, if you ask the question, well, is Black liberation possible? To me, it's possible when we realize this is a class struggle and not a racial struggle. Don't get me wrong, race is built into capitalism. It's built into our class struggle. Doesn't matter how rich a Black person you are, you're still somehow considered a lower tier of our class, right? But this is a class struggle. So yes, the Black Panther Party, they were the vanguard. They led the movements. But they were Puerto Ricans, they were Chicanos, they were Chinese, Japanese, Filipino, right? They were white folks from Appalachia who they convinced to put the Confederate flag away because they had a shared class struggle. I'm a realist, and for me, I believe Black community, we take care of ourselves, but we also have to understand if we want real revolution in our time, it's going to take alliances across class. It's going to take a moment where we understand there are the haves and the have-nots. A revolution can look a lot of different ways, but I'm saying for Black liberation to happen, revolution has to happen in our time. So unless that's on our mind and we consider what that really means in this country, Black liberation will not happen. But if we are serious about this work, serious about this class struggle, serious about taking care of ourselves and building these alliances, then yes, me and my daughter one day will see Black liberation.
Yeah.
From Dr. Sy on the ask for today as we continue to dream forward and bridge this gap toward Black liberation. So thank you so much for having us. And thank you to our amazing
Dr. Sy, seriously. What the hell going on, boy? How you doing? You on the panel today? Yeah. Hey sis, God bless you. Good. What's up, Cheryl? How you doing, Queen? Come on. Hey, see your face. On my face. Here, man, represent Filipino business. That's right. That's right.
Was it? 10. How y'all feeling this morning? Okay. Good, I'm glad as people are coming in. I think a few things that stood out to me are Alicia said, well, what's gonna make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up? That we deserve power every day in all aspects of our life. We can now ask the question about why are we hungry in the first place?
Right.
When we know we deserve to be fed. Those are just a few things, and Director Davis is going to introduce our next speaker as folks begin to take their seats. Thank you.
All right, so, hello. Are you still in here? Wait. I am,
Amazing.
oh, thank you. I see you, Ms. Crawford. I am really grateful for this next conversation. So I'm going to say a little bit about April Ryan. She is going to come out, say a few words. We're going to talk a little bit and then have some room for Q&A. And just, I wanted to give you context and background. So I see Mark, and gosh, maybe a month, 2 months ago, Commonwealth Club had the moderator for something that was happening canceled, and they asked me if I would fill in. And so some folks know that I love books. And I don't like to talk to people about their books if I haven't read them. And so I'm not an avid reader. You know, some people are like, I read all the time. Like, I love to read, but I read children's books. Like, you can read that in 20 minutes. But the book they gave me, but the book was like, you know, I had like 2 days to read hundreds of pages. And let me tell you, it read so beautiful and so easily. And the writing and the writer did such an amazing job. And so the book was Black Women Will Save the World by April Ryan. And after the conversation, I was like, I would love to have you come to San Francisco because I'm practicing being bold and asking for things that, you know, I think I won't get. And she said yes. So here we are today. Give it up for April Ryan. April Ryan they command rooms, they have access to so many things, and so often people get up and they talk about the importance of community, grassroots, the importance of folks who are leading the work, and then when you reach out to them, they don't have time for them. And like that's very real, folks. Like, I just need people to understand. A lot of times people are front and center and saying like they're down with the cause, but they don't want the cause to come to their house, right? And so when she said yes, I was blown away. Same thing with Alicia. Like, the commitment to stay rooted and grounded is amazing. And so that's why I tell you that story, because I want you to appreciate and respect that. As they say, she's a real one, right? So I'm just going to read a little bit, which I'm most impressed by a couple of things. Like, some of us can't stand 25 minutes of being the only one in a room. 25 years, she was the only Black correspondent for the White House, right? Like, that's a huge thing. Yes, give it up. So April Ryan is a stalwart of the White House press corps, who is currently the White House correspondent and Washington bureau chief for TheGrio. Previously, Ryan served as the White House correspondent and Washington bureau chief for American Urban Radio Networks for 23 years. Throughout her illustrious career, she has investigated the issues reshaping American society in exclusive one-on-one interviews with our nation's leaders, movers, and shakers, including Presidents Barack Obama, George W. Bush, Michelle Obama, Laura Bush, Hillary Clinton, Al Gore, John Kerry, and many others. In addition to TheGrio, Ryan can be seen almost daily as a political analyst on CNN. She has also been featured in leading publications including Politico, Essence, Vogue, Cosmopolitan, and Elle. and is the author of, most recently, Black Women Will Save the World, an anthem, as well as the award-winning book, The Presidency in Black and White, along with At Mama's Knee, Mothers and Race in Black and White and Under Fire. Reporting from the front lines of the Trump White House, give it up for her, because she took real fire for staying true. A trailblazing figure in political journalism, Ryan's accomplishments and contributions have been recognized with various awards and accolades. And so I could go on and on, but I want us to just, now y'all can stand up. Ryan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Black History Month. Right? Yes. It is such an honor to be back at the Commonwealth Club, and I'm catching up backstage with my good friend. Woo! History herself, Frederica. I know, right? And I think about yesterday to today, the cyclical nature of this moment. The cyclical nature of this moment. And I'm gonna talk for a little bit before I sit down and we have a conversation. Thank you so much for inviting me back. This is one of the best moments in San Fran, right? It's good to be away from the White House, right? I got time off. Just to come to be with you. But I'm gonna give you a little bit, thank you. Thank you for thinking of me. Thank you for putting your hands out at the TV. When I was in trouble. If it weren't for you supporting me, I don't think I would be here. I mean, really be here.
Yeah, that's right.
Because y'all called it out. And you saved my life. And my children's lives. I'm serious. But this moment that we're in, it makes you kind of want to cry.
Yeah.
And I think about Tuesday night. How many of you stayed up and watched the State of the Union address? For those of you who didn't, shame on you. It's on YouTube, go back and watch it. The reason why I say how many of you watched it, because I happen to be blessed to be part of a group, 11 people, influencers, media influencers, who had the honor to have lunch with the President of the United States before the address. He said he was in a good space. I can't tell you what he said. I can't tell you what we did. But I am going to share a little bit with you, because it put the exclamation mark on this moment and gave me a little bit more understanding of this moment. Because I keep saying, why are we here? So many people fought, bled, and died for this moment, for freedom, for first-class citizenship, and where are we now? Hate is on the rise. Sarah Huckabee Sanders talking all this contradiction after the president. Now, how many of you watched that? Ooh, child, it was hard. Ooh, it was hard. I sat in that audience during the briefing, listening to those lies every day. And then she lied again after the president. And she's governor. Arkansas. And could possibly be the running mate of Donald Trump. Can you imagine? For real, we are in a moment. And at that, going back to the lunch, this current president, the 46th president of the United States, said every 2 to 5 generations, we go backwards. Right? Right. I wrote that down. Every 2 to 5 generations. Now look what Frederica and the Black Panther Party did. Look what Dr. King, who would have been 94 this year, look what he did. When was that? 1950s, 60s. This is 2023.
Help us. Help us, Jesus.
I'm a journalist in rarefied air. In one of the most exclusive places and a perch to watch America. 150 feet away from the President of the United States. It took all of y'all, Black Panther Party, Dr. King, Malcolm, all of them, to get a little girl from Baltimore like me to raise my hand for 26 years to ask questions of the United States President, and for them to call me by name. Woo! At least 4 called me by my name. And that's the truth. You saw it. Sit down. Can you get the Black Caucus together for me for a meeting? I'm just a journalist. For whatever reason, you didn't want to answer my questions you were afraid of, because I ask questions about a community that still has the highest numbers of negatives in every category in this moment.
Tell it.
A community that is losing its rights. First-class citizenship is still elusive. I am not an activist. I'm telling you, from the unique perch that I sit, voting rights, the full protections thereof, are gone. Gone. Gone.
Tell it.
We're voting in places and spaces where there's suppression.
Yeah.
I can't give my grandmother a crack if her sugar is off. Or we'll go to jail while she's standing in line for 2 hours in a poll where they pulled some of the machines and ballots away. It almost sounds like if we put a sepia tone picture together, it almost sounds like decades ago yesterday.
Yeah.
Those are the questions I ask though. Being Black in America is tough. We are still dealing with something we dealt with from the inception of our time here in this nation. Enslaved Africans in America were controlled by what? Sheriffs and police. Enslaved Africans were patrolled. We heard the story of Kunta Kinte. We watched Roots. So don't act like you don't know. If you don't know, you better go ask somebody. No, I'm serious. And people are like, it's just started happening. Oh my God. You know, Trayvon Martin. No, that wasn't policing. That was a vigilante. That's right. Ahmaud Arbery was lynched as well. That was vigilanteism.
Yes.
In the back of a truck. Young Black man had a dream. Young Black man had a dream. That word dream. That word dream. We all dream, right? But that young Black man wanted better. He believed in what everybody said decades ago. Had dream. And we still dream today. He had a dream of a nice home. Everybody sees construction along the way, right? Everybody does. He was jogging along on the street. And they don't tell you about this because they wanted to make sure that they didn't kind of change the dynamic of what could happen in that trial. Because along that street, there were Trump signs all along the street. And they can tell you that, right? He's jogging away for his dream, sees this house. Wow. Beautiful construction. I like driving through neighborhoods where they told my parents years ago that you can't live in. Redline that came out of Baltimore, the city that I was born in. So I like to dream too. But unfortunately, you know, everybody on that street with the Trump signs said, oh my gosh, we got this guy in this neighborhood. Who is he? Why? Well, everybody else white was going in there too.
Right.
But the young Black man who had a dream of better, who wanted to live the American dream, was gunned down by his with a shotgun. Bullets went through him. Through him, not in him, but through. He had no chance. They hunted him down like an animal. And then, in the trial, what are they going to do? This is America, right? America we still love in spite of. We are patriotic because we want to see her better. We talk about her because we want to see better, right? We march in the streets because, and I say we collectively, I scribe what you're doing, but we march in the streets because we want better. We want what Dr. King dreamed of, first-class citizenship, what the Black Panther Party said. First-class citizenship, health, food for our children, fight against sickle cell, and so many others. The plan that they had is being enacted now, and they don't get the credit for it, right, Frederica? Let's talk about that part. The clinics that they're funding now in our community, Black Panther Party. Hello? And I gotta give it up for my sisters. Frederica told me before our book, she's in my book, yes, she's a friend. You know, the visual was black men in these black outfits, those black tans looking all fly and feet, right? Intimidating to some, but fly to others, right? You married one of them, anyway. I like to smile, I like to joke. But anyway, but guess what? The power of that party with the face that happened to be men, black men, 70% women, who cared, who loved a community. Anyway, going back to this trial. He tried for better. Black Panthers tried for better. Dr. King tried for better. Killed. King killed. X killed. Ahmaud Arbery had a dream he was killed. And in that trial, see how it all comes together? In that trial, he couldn't dream. He couldn't be a dreamer wanting better. He happened to be a man that had dirt in his nails, toenails. And they wanted to get Jesse Jackson out of the room. It wasn't Jesse Jackson, it was Al Sharpton.
Tell the story.
We all know that, but anyway. Today in 2023, as I write, as I dare to dream and write for better, and write about a community that's underserved, going back to what the president, the white president of the United States said, every 2 to 5 generations everything changes. Look at today. Look at today. Being black in America is not easy. At that State of the Union, you didn't want to watch, some of you didn't choose to watch. I want you to watch because it impacts you. From the lead in the water that's still there. We were talking about Jackson, but Flint still has got issues.
That's right. That's right.
Flint still has issues. Tyree Nichols. We can call a bunch of names. The parents were there. Not only were Tyree Nichols' parents there, but the father of Mike Brown was there. Congresswoman Cora Bush brought him. Hakeem Jeffries, the new sneaker wearing, slim suit fitting House Minority Leader. He's a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. He is a brother from another mother in Brooklyn. He's Brooklyn's finest. He is the new Minority Leader of the House. In this moment, as we rise to certain levels, we are still dealing with some of the same devils. Being black in America is tough. I was just in Florida. We just celebrated the birthday, the heavenly birthday of Trayvon Martin. He would have been 28 years old. Right. Sabrina Fulton, my soror, my friend, honored me by giving me the Champion of Justice and Peace Award. Thank you. So in that moment, I'm saying all this because we're going to talk in a minute, but I just want to set level set the stage, whatever you want to call it. What do you guys call it here in San Francisco? Because I'm going to be down. Okay, I'm good. Let's level set. Let's snap, You gotta laugh to keep from crying. Woo! still have hope. I still have hope. But I'm also realistic. So anyway, I get this award. And I'm thankful that we should not even have to be in this place. Our Black people should be able to go to a courthouse instead of having street corner justice.
Yes.
I am a Black person in America has been pulled over by police as well. It's not just about our Black boys, it's about our Black girls too.
That's right.
The day of the State of the Union address, it was the anniversary when Sandra Bland was killed. So I'm saying this to say, all this to say, I got that award. I was touched, I was thankful, but I was hurt. And as I was talking about thanking them on behalf of the Black press who's been beating the drum on this stuff, the Black press, you know, y'all go watch all the other people, but you need to stay tuned to the Black press too, because we need you to continue to support us. Because we give you information that they don't touch until it's shouldn't know.
Yep.
That's right. So, while I was there, I said, you know what? Being Black in America is tough. You know when I said being Black in Florida is tougher, they were like, the whole room groaned.
Yes.
Y'all know what's going on in Florida. And we also know what's going on in Arkansas with Sarah Evans Davis. Florida, Georgia, Texas, Alabama, and now Arkansas. Same mindsets, right?
Yep.
Voting, abortion, banning Latinx Sarah, banning CRT Sarah. They don't even teach CRT in the schools, and she banned CRT. Then she said in her response, how many of you watch that response? Okay, so Lord knows you didn't watch it. You tried. I had to watch it because of this news. Because I know what she's putting down, but it's worse. Even Van Jones said, I know Sarah, she's typically nice, but this was mean. I said, wow. I said, Van said that. It was hateful. Y'all, I'm telling you, go on YouTube and watch this, please. It was hateful. It's too difficult, but you know what? My children made me watch George Floyd because it was too difficult. In order for me to report to you, I've got to see and hear. Right? Thank you. Please watch it. I know it's painful. So you can speak, when you go to the water pool at work, did y'all see that? I want you to speak from a stance of education and understanding versus not knowing, because that's the worst thing we can do. Dipping in and not knowing what's going on and sound crazy. But here's the thing. So going back to that, I'm thinking about, and Sarah talking, and she was talking about, oh, you know, and I celebrate freedom, and I celebrate, you know, when the Little Rock 9 had their anniversary, I was there, my father was governor. But yet you're talking about freedoms and that, but you're banning everything else. I'm like, come on, what? We are walking, talking contradictions. But in Florida, Saturday night, I was thankful in the midst of the hurt. And I said, you know, it's tough being Black in America, but it's tough being Black in Florida. The room groaned, and I said, but I'm coming back. I hope I get invited back, because I got a commencement address in May. But I said, you know, we got to remember these moments, because the effort to ban books like the 1619 Project is here. The effort to ban our history, to erase the pains, the struggles we got to get to this moment, so people don't feel guilty and hurt.
Come on, right. That don't make no sense.
I said, being Black in America, being Black in Florida is tough. But we have to remember Trayvon. If they take our history away, we don't remember the dream. We don't remember Trayvon. We don't remember the Black Panther Party. We we don't remember April Ryan, who's the longest serving Black woman in that White House. They cared about her life threatened, multiple times bomb squads at her house, and the FBI there. The story has to be told. We have to remember. We're in that moment, that generation, that 2 to 5 generations where we go backwards. We're in that moment. The question is, what are you gonna do so I can write?
Yeah.
Y'all make me feel good. I'm tired. What's 3 hours? I've been up since 4 a.m. What's 4 o'clock? I had to see my children out this morning. I had to call them. I said, you going to school? How you get them? My fiance is like, who take them to school? Like, oh.
So April has graciously agreed to answer a couple of questions, but I just want to, before we get into that, and again, this is like, I feel like I need to just put the disclaimer, this is not a dissertation, not an interview, not an offering of services for anything. This is a question that's quick so we can get some other folks in. I, on the other hand, will take a long time. So, I just wanted to hit on so much that you said, but a couple things that front of mind for me when you start talking about power and education and going backwards, and you talk about the book bans, and it really is a replay in my mind of anti-literacy laws, right? Like this idea of if we give them the history, if they know what's going on, then one fear was that they would write their own slaves, would write their own passes to freedom, right? So the ability to write policy or to change things through education, or 2, that you become aware that slavery is wrong and that there's an abolition movement, right? And so this kind of going backwards of book bans and critical race theory, what do you think?
So I'm going to say this, before the idea in the slave master's mind or in the colonizer's mind, whatever you want to call it, before they even thought about if I give them a pen and a paper to read and write, there was already a dis-ease in the spirit of the slave. There was already a dis-ease in the spirit because they knew something was better. Even those who came after those who were ripped from Africa, they knew it wasn't right. And the fear was that we would be able to think, move. This nation was built on the backs of slavery and slaves. The White House was built, the White House and the Capitol were built by our ancestors.
Right.
Last year, there was a huge call to study reparations. They've been doing studies for a long time, all right? In the late grade, Congressman John Conyers was talking about reparations, but now they were trying to study it. This year, the House is flipped, okay? They ain't studying nothing. They're not even talking about it. So when we talk about erasing that, I believe that is a part of it because they were pushing, certain communities in the Black community were pushing for reparations. What does it look like? Some of it could look like, hey, that 40 acres that they were talking about. What does 40 acres from hundreds of years ago equate to in 2023? They have given reparations to Japanese Americans, correct?
Yes.
And that was after us, way after us. What does it look like? The fear is to have to deal with that. And so that's one of the reasons why there is an erasure. It's guilt and oh my God, oh I didn't do it. No, but the system did it.
That's right.
The system, they supported a system that did it. And there are Ivy League schools that are grappling with this right now. They want to stop this because people are realizing that there was a wrong that was committed and there must be a reparation. Look at the wealth gap right now. Look at the wealth gap. You know, and it's going to get worse if there's a continued fight over this debt ceiling. Your interest rates are going to go up.
Yes.
trying to buy a car or a house, you may as well forget it. This is one of the hardest places to get a house in out here.
Terrible.
Trust me, I won't be buying out here. They're beautiful in hell, but, and that's for the average American who doesn't look like us. And then when you get to us, what happens? And that's one of the reasons why they want to take these books out that challenges the system or make you unaware of this is how we live, this is who we are. We have never been on an equal playing field. Never. And people always say, oh, why do you always talk about race? Because race and money touches everything in every category. So.
Well, you hit on the other, and then we'll go to the audience here. When you first started talking, you said about the disparities, right? And you talk about race and money hits on everything. And we look at it, you talk about San Francisco, less than 6% African American, but more than 50% of the folks who are incarcerated. The health disparities that you talk about, the wealth gap is, between African Americans make less than $40,000 a year, and everybody else for the most part is over $100,000 a year.
That's ridiculous. But doing the same job. And then look, and in Baltimore, I'm outside of Baltimore now, but I come from a place where Baltimore's blighted. It's terrible. If any of you ever ride the train, come on the East Coast and ride the train from DC to New York, you see how horrible from the train that those areas are. Baltimore is blighted because certain industries left. Beth Steel, that used to make ships, they left. A lot of people who did not have college degrees were able to get a middle income status through Beth Steel and other manufacturing companies. They left, and now Baltimore is blighted. And Baltimore is now a city, a high renters community. We have a lot of blocks that are vacant. And people from all over are coming and trying to buy. I'm praying that Baltimore winds up turning into Detroit. Because remember Detroit? There was a renaissance for Detroit. Detroit is beautiful now. I'm praying that that will happen, but when you have companies who decide, I'm not gonna go there because the hiring pool is horrible. Well, I'm from Baltimore. I'm horrible. But, but there are some, but Baltimore is one of those communities, we're now living off of wage workers. And that is not a way to build wealth. That is not a way to live with a family. That is poverty. So what happens? You've got to deal with that because it brings communities to their knees. And I don't know what to say. I mean, I believe, and I think, I hate to keep going back to the Black Panther Party because that's what was in your community, and Dr. King and all that. First-class citizenship, there is a disparity. There's a disparity. And it takes people en masse to say something collectively, consistently, and persistently. Everybody's not a marcher, but other people can do other things.
That's right.
To put pressure. And I think people get complacent once they get those Teslas. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry, I'm here, but I'm so sorry. And then when you get the bread box, she coming for me. I have one pair of blood shoes. But when you get the blood shoes and the Teslas and get the house on the hill, when it slopes down and the little trolley comes down, you think you've made it. But what happens to your sister's son? He's not doing so well. I mean, many of us are one paycheck away from what?
Right.
So let's be real. I mean, what happens to you impacts me because it happens to you. It's coming around to me in a minute.
I tell people that in terms of we're looking at the media and we're looking at the things that are happening. Don't think because it's the mayor or it's the supervisor. Just know it's really an attack on everybody, whether you like their politics or not. Understand that, and don't be surprised when your name's in the paper next time with the story and the narrative. And as you were speaking, I thought about Director Eric Shaw and so this investment that the mayor and the supervisor have made in terms of $60 million a year for Black folks, intentional. They were able to over the last year give out $500,000 to nearly 20 people to buy homes in San Francisco.
That's beautiful.
So give it up for Eric, because I know he's going to
And I don't take home ownership lightly, because when you sit in that unique perch and you hear all these things, you're like, wait a minute, I gotta get myself together. I believe in generational wealth, leaving something for my two girls who, you know, we just don't know each day. You know, we had a pandemic and they were saying, you know, you need to create your will because you don't know if tomorrow is gonna be your last day or the day is gonna be your last day. So I really started thinking about that. And I said, home ownership is that leveraging piece for business and sending your children to school. And many of us don't own. Black America had the highest numbers of home ownership during Bill Clinton's presidency. And then corporate America, the banks found out about it. Like, ooh, during George Bush years. And then they started giving us these loans, these ballooning loans, that pushed us into foreclosure. Am I telling the truth?
Yes.
And now our home ownership levels are like in 1968 when they were fighting for the Fair Housing Act. The Fair Housing Act went into law in 1968. We black folks' numbers are at that point right now. That's a sinning shame. We are willing to buy a weave or or a Maybach. I'm gonna get off the Tesla. The only reason why I say Tesla is because Elon Musk. I was shocked by Elon Musk on Twitter. I'm kind of off of Twitter a little bit because they pulled my numbers down. I said, y'all need to stop. And I'm probably gonna be off Twitter after this. I don't care. They probably gonna find me and block me. I don't care. What more can what more can they do to me? You know, what
We
more?
all love you, so you win.
Thank you. Seriously, I think, thank you for doing that, because we have to really look at our homes and look at owning a piece of something. We have to really start thinking about that, because at the end of the day, if you don't own, you're in a whole other class that you're gonna be struggling to get anything, because home ownership also helps you build credit. You gotta pay your mortgage now on time, because that also is a bad strike against you if you don't pay your mortgage on time. But we have to go back to basics. They don't teach us this in school.
No.
They don't teach us a lot in school.
No.
But we have to impress upon them, you know, the basics of economics, the basics of civics. And that's one of the reasons why we have January 6th, because half these people don't even know how government works.
Yeah.
Right. I think we need to go back to the basics and really start putting things back so people, especially our people, can understand. Not just a paragraph on slavery in the history book, not just a paragraph on the 3 branches of government, you know? We need to understand, we need to get into it. I think we have been underserved in a lot of ways.
But that's why, again, pointing out the work that Frederica and Xavier are doing, like how we do more of that.
Zach, I'm sorry, Zach. We met in the vineyard. All the women were running after him, trust. Frederica says that always happens wherever he goes.
I think we got time for maybe a couple questions. You want to, Sai or Debbie, somebody want to take them? Sure.
I tried to set up Zachary with my cousin. Well, yeah, you remember, I was like, no. You did say he was taken. She's a good girl. You like her, yeah.
Thank you.
Ms. Ryan,
Hello.
hi. With the thought of where we were in the 60s, 70s as a part of NAACP, Black Caucus, National Council of Negro Women, do you think today, dreaming forward, we need to get back to that, of moving together, being together, knowing the same thing together, fighting together and standing together, or do we go on forward with a new wheel?
So let me say this, I think all of the above, and I'm saying this as a journalist from that unique perch that I watch. For 25 years, I was the only, for 26 years, no, 25 years, I was the only Black person at the White House covering urban issues. okay? Only one. Well, that's ridiculous. Everything comes to the White House from water, peace, and everything in between. I have seen funerals on the street in front of the White House. Seriously, I have. I've seen people march. I saw MLK get arrested on voting rights. Was it last year? With Ben Jealous in front of the White House. They pay attention. But when things break down, when you don't have a lot of people out there, when it's not consistent and the pressure is not on, that's when they kind of say, okay, they did it for a minute. I think about what LBJ said to Dr. King, make me do it. He really said that to Dr. King. And that making me do it was getting out there, bringing all types of people together.
Yes, yes.
It took Selma and white folks, seeing white folks getting beaten too. Because when the white folks saw the black folks, they were like, the white folks who were the allies were like, wait a minute, this is not right. They just want to be able to vote. And then when they joined and saw other white folks being beaten and killed, that's when the change happened. You are not relics of the past, but you got to figure out how to mold into current day. One of the big differences is social media. Social media has really drastically changed the game. If you are not on social media, oh my gosh, you lose. Social media helps you rally the troops. Social media helps you rally the troops. That's not the only thing though. You know, social media helps you get the people there, but you gotta scrape up them red bottoms and march. And I say that because some of us think, oh, I'm clutching my pearls and I'm good. I'm serious, I hear that a lot. There's some groups that, oh, we don't need that. We're good. No, we're not. And then when something has, I would never imagine that to happen.
Wow.
What are you gonna do about it?
Right.
We can all be bougie, okay? Yeah. And we can all be real as well. Yes. I just, from what I see and what I hear, everyone's talking about voting rights. They want voting rights. That's not top of mind right now because there's been a shift in the House.
Yeah.
Policing. Yeah. Cory Booker and Tim Scott are at it again. Minus Karen Bass was now the mayor of Los Angeles. Let me pause on her for a minute. She's priceless. That man threw over $100 million at her, and she still won.
That's right. That's right.
That's what I'm talking about, the power of a black woman who's real and authentic. Wow. So that right there, that's our local queen. All right. You are a national queen. And so as a black woman, as another black queen, to sit in front of queens. Thank you. So this is my question to you. Come on, queens. I'm looking at you. I know you look those queens. I'm like, come on, can't take cloth and white queens. Yes, it was. So I'm trying to do like Dr. Davis. You should have saw her ribbons anyway. Queen April Ryan. This is what I want to know. You continue to be on the front line for us and risk your life. You risk so much. So just as that one too. But what motivates you? What is it? That's it. That's good. Okay. Not good. I don't know what motivates me. I didn't ask for this. When I was in college, walking across the yard at Morgan State University, the quad. Yeah. Morgan in the house? Morgan? Is that Morganite? Okay. I'm not mad with you. So I wasn't socially active. I really wasn't. But as a child, my mother regaled me about the Black Panther Party. My mother and father, as a child, I was one of those weird kids. I was a latchkey kid. I would come home and I would actually go to that record player that looked like a coffin. Remember those? The stereo set? Oh my gosh. That's a relic, right? And I would put on Dr. King's speeches. That, I'm like, as a kid, because it was something, I always was in the church, there was something about the rise and fall of his voice. It was something as a kid about the determination that he had for us. I don't know, and I think about it now, I'm like, girl, you were really quirky. And I'm a nerd, I'm quirky, I'm serious. And Frederica knows me, because we've been together, she like this girl on the trip. But we have a good time together. But I'm a nerd and I'm quirky. And I didn't understand it until now. So my mother and father, both of my parents come from agrarian families, right? My father comes from a farming family in Maryland, in a space that's now very wealthy. When he was a kid, he said, they didn't want us there. I said, well, you know what? You don't have any choice for us to go there. Because what motivates me, let me get back to that. What motivates me is, and I think this is where it is, and then my mother was down south in North Carolina, a very small town that's very close to Myrtle Beach. It's like 45 minutes from Myrtle Beach, but a very small town in the southeastern tip of North Carolina. She used to tell me how she would walk to school, and the kids would spit on her in the white school buses. Wow. You don't ever want to hear that happening to your mama, right? Right. She would tell me stories, and I was born 9 months before Dr. King was assassinated. I was born a few years before the March on Washington. I was born, all of the civil rights stuff was right around my birth. I was born just before the Fair Housing Act. So they would talk to me about race. I wasn't socially active in school. I was just that kid who just wanted to be in radio, wanted to be in media. I was always working. They just called me Oprah. Right? Because Oprah was in Baltimore at the time. Oprah, all I've ever known in my life was Oprah Winfrey, seeing that black excellence, right? Wow. She was in Baltimore, then she went up. That's all I've ever known, And I never aspired to be Oprah, because I always said, everyone has their gift, and God lays what they want. I never want, I said, God, you got whatever you got for me. Right. And I always appreciate her for her, because I could never handle what she handled. And I don't think a lot of people can handle what I have to handle. But I think each one of us is uniquely different to be able to handle what we have. And I'm a firm believer in that. But I think what motivates me is the fact that when I got to the White House reporting on Black America, I really saw the injustice. I really saw the disparity, the hurt. I saw Black farmers begging for their money that they were told they were going to get for almost 20 years. Wow. I see now in 2023, Black farmers were supposed to get money, but the Republicans got very upset saying it's reparations, and now the money is for distressed farmers, not Black farmers, right? You pay attention to these dynamics and differences. You see the disparity. What motivates me as a Black person to understand what it's like to be Black in America, and then see when they're talking about the disparities in sentencing for crack cocaine versus powder cocaine, who uses crack and who uses powder. During Clinton's time, it was 100-1. The sentencing was for powder cocaine was for crack cocaine, you would be sentenced 100 times harsher than you would be for powder. Crack was always whack for white folks who were sentencing, like Whitney Houston would say. And then looking at housing, the rise of Black folks owning homes, even in San Francisco, and then how they preyed upon us and the downfall. We're back at it, at the numbers when they put in the law to help us gain. That's what motivates me to ask questions, and when I hear people say, oh my God, thank you for asking those questions, it meant something to me. Again, everything comes to that White House, from War and Peace and everything in between. And unfortunately, mainstream media only asks questions about Black America when there's a crescendo moment. We heard it every day. Our crescendo moment is every moment. So I think that's what motivates me. I'm so sorry, but we are already
over time.
I'm sorry.
No, I think we are all grateful that you made time to be here in San Francisco. Is that
So we are going to change the set. So we're gonna take a 15-minute break. We have vendors downstairs selling their products. Thank you to OEWD who are supporting our entrepreneurs. We have our nonprofit partners who are downstairs sharing resources. So take 15 minutes to take care of yourself. As Ms. Frederica highlighted, self-care and rest is a form of resistance. So please do, and we'll come back to this room in 15 minutes. Thank you.
So good to see you. Let's take Oh, okay. Come in this one. How are you? Hi. All right. Hi. Good to see you. I want to come meet you. Oh, she want to take a photo? No. I know. Maybe I
Sorry.
What's all those? No, I was helping her. Oh, go ahead.
How you doing, young lady?
I have to get a photo too. When they see me,
I see you at the gym. And I'm gonna get one with my camera because mine is kind of weird too. Perfect.
she gotta get a selfie. Do you want me to take it? I'm trying to remember. I'm working on it. She's real. I took a couple. Really with the gorgeous man. Really with the gorgeous. There you go. Okay. Did you get your photo?
Yes, baby. I need one more. What happened here? Yeah.
I'm gonna have you take one of those. I'm good. I can pick this photo.
Sorry.
Oh, excuse us.
I'm sorry.
Thank you so much.
All right, community, we're taking a 15-minute break. It's been very powerful today at the Dreaming Forward event here in San Francisco. And the power, the energy, the love, how we organize and how we move forward is something on a whole nother level. You have to be here to feel the energy. And I know y'all get to see it. Check out some of the upcoming stuff that's going to be coming. There's a lot of phenomenal folks here. Again, a lot of resources, things happening. And y'all know both sides of the conversation. Wherever the people be, that's what we be. We out here.
I gotta get in this corner because everybody else is I'm actually taking a video. So when you guys are done, if y'all can say dreaming forward, that would be awesome. Take your kids off. You could, please. You can keep your hands okay, on the count of three, you can say dreaming forward. One. Dreaming forward. One more time, please. Dreaming forward.
Yes, definitely. It can be mailed or we are at 25 South End. That's my the address is in my signature when we were exchanging. Okay, wonderful. We're on the 8th floor. We'll find that out. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, wonderful. Maybe I have an art tour. Oh, you're placing it. Okay. Thank you for coming. Yes, I look forward to having right now. Lunches. 12:30. Okay.
Good afternoon, good afternoon. Please rejoin us in the main auditorium for the next part of the program. Please rejoin us in the main auditorium for the next part of the program. Thank you. If you could all please retake your seats in the main auditorium, we'll restart the program. Please take your seats in the main auditorium so that we can restart the program. Thank you.
can have everyone to start making their way back into the auditorium. We can have folks start making their way back into the auditorium.
Please find your way to the main auditorium so that we can begin the next part of the program. Please find your way to the main auditorium so that we can begin the next part of the program.
So we'll, before I introduce the next set of speakers, I'll make a few announcements. Don't throw anything away that's in your collateral bag. Okay, I believe folks can still hear me in the lobby. So welcome back. How was this morning? Y'all still fired up and energized? Wonderful. And I know that fired up. That was my mama, y'all. Y'all remember when I told y'all she taught me that I was black first? And that's her back there, fired up. I love our culture. I love our people because we can always count on the response. I love you, mama. Okay, so I just want to add a few thank yous. So I want to thank San Francisco Housing Development Corporation and in the Black Marketplace. So I see Pia Harris back there and I see Jessica back there, I see Eddie. So when you checked in, you should have received a card that says In the Black. It is not a business card, that is a gift card. Oh, yeah. We are promoting buying black. And so we want you to spend your money at In the Black Marketplace, which is on the corner of Gary and Fillmore, an old check cashing place that is now a marketplace full of black-owned businesses, yes. We also have a few of those vendors downstairs, but you can use that gift card either in person or online. So thank you to In the Black Marketplace and the team there for offering that. We are also happy to support our food entrepreneurs. So I want to thank Larry McClendon and his team for pulling together the meals for today. This will be the last session before lunch, and lunch will be served by Gumbo Social. So Dante at Gumbo Social, we have some po' boys. Our food is completely catered by black-owned restaurateurs and food entrepreneurs for the reception as well. So we're excited to do that. So yeah, we all types of black all year long, today and every day for the rest of the year. And happy about it. Okay. So our next set of panelists or speakers will, each of you in your seats had a report, an executive summary of an evaluation. And we heard many references. We heard Alicia Garza mentioned it. We heard Dr. Buck mention it. We heard April Ryan mention it, data. So needing data to back up what it is that we're trying to do. So we can not only dream, but we have tangible evidence to move that dream forward and make it a reality. And so we are going to invite up members of the Jamuya Research Institute, as well as HRNA advisors as a part of the Dreamkeeper Initiative. It was a commitment and a priority for us to invest in researchers that could tell our own stories. We were tired of reading studies and being studied by people who extract information and then use it for whatever they use it for. The Jamuya Research is an intentional effort to have our stories told for us, by us, and with us. And so they are going to come to share a little bit about decolonizing research, and how they engage in an evaluation process through an anthropological lens. And so those speakers, as they come up, will be Dr. Patricia Nunley, Dr. Brenda.
That's good.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Sarah Solon. I'm from HRNA Advisors. I'm here with.
Turn your mic on.
Hi.
Hi.
So good morning, everyone. My name is Sarah Solon, and I'm from HRNA Advisors. We're a mission-driven, employee-owned public policy consulting firm. And it is such an honor to be in this powerful room today. We have had I'm just feeling overwhelmingly grateful because for the last year, HRC has invited us in to really listen and learn. We have been asked to help tell the story of the incredible power, joy, creativity, and resilience that is in this room. The community that has helped to shape what the Dreamkeeper Initiative is, and the people who are in charge of implementing this work. So the city employees and the Black-led and Black-serving organizations who are on the ground every day making sure that Dreamkeeper dollars are doing good in our communities. We have been so grateful to be guided in this process by Drs. Nunley and Lucky, who are here today from the Jamuya Research Institute. And so, yes, thank you. So we are going to speak as little as possible and really reserve this stage and this space for the women who've been guiding this work. But we wanted to go through a little bit of what we found in our impact evaluation. So our process has been grounded in a methodology. So we have aggregated narratives and impact reports from the 8 city departments that are responsible for implementing BKI. We have surveyed and interviewed 40 city employees who are implementing BKI programs. We have surveyed 50 of the 85 Black-led and Black-serving organizations who are implementing DKI programs. And the Jamuya Research Institute has led a series of focus groups with these organizations. 34 organizations participated in the focus groups, and then a series of focus groups with community, and over 70 community members who are the intended beneficiaries of DKI services participated. And so we have, our overarching finding is that this investigation really affirmed that Black joy, creativity, invention, and community persist in San Francisco, and that they are supported by the Dreamkeeper Initiative. And the San Francisco city government is making progress in incubating a new model for local government action, partnership, and accountability that we think can become a replicable blueprint for anti-racist local government that really centers the needs and the dreams of people who have been marginalized by government. So we looked at the intersection of community impact and government change. This will come as no surprise, but within 2 years of implementing DKI, we have not solved racism in San Francisco. But we wanted to look at 3 research questions. So the first is,
Has DKI remained accountable to the community that shaped it and fought for it and informed what it looks like? The second is trust. How effectively are city departments beginning to shift how the city trusts communities to actually shape programs and spend money that address their needs? And is the city government taking intentional steps to start to repair trust between government and the communities that it has harmed? And the third is, how bold is this investment? Is it really bold enough to address the scope and severity of structural racism? So those were the questions that motivated us, and I'd love to turn to my colleagues to start to walk through our findings.
Thank you, Sarah. So I'm going to walk through some of the data that we've been talking about. Everyone's been acknowledging is so important and central to how we measure this incredible work that's been transpiring through the Dream Keeper initiative here in San Francisco. So I'm going to walk through very sort of numerical, specific data that will give you measured impact in terms of what's been transpiring thus far in such a great way. When we talk to the leaders in the organizations through our survey process, the Black-led, Black-serving institutions that have been responsible for administering the DKI program, over 90% of them agreed that the services that are coming through DKI would not have been available had it not been for the structure in the organization of what DKI's mission is. And we also found that over 100% of those Black-led, Black-serving organizations agreed that if not for the services that DKI administered, that Black San Franciscans would have a severe unmet need in terms of the services that are being called for, that are really, really necessary for thriving of diverse Black populations in San Francisco. So the different structures and pillars that we looked at, that we focused on by way of measuring that impact, came through specific lenses that in which we studied. They are outlined as art and culture, the Brighter Future program, economic mobility, health and wellness, mini grants, and home ownership. These were the specific areas that we looked at in order to really drill down into how impact was happening throughout the DKI programming. So regarding arts and culture specifically, the Dream Keeper initiative really, I mean, it's clear how the program was expanded because of DKI's investment in terms of the capacity that arts and cultural organizations could really look to in terms of an increase in people being able to participate in arts and cultural performances, experiences that center Black voices, and the practitioners and artists themselves who were given new platforms and new spaces in which to tell Black stories. That really does create the texture and importance of San Francisco as a diverse and inclusive city.
Yeah.
So funding directly through the arts and cultural pillar produced 126 events and performances. These are new experiences that came from DKI funding. 130 artists were hired for different experiences. Over 15,000 participants were engaged, and there was an interplay in experiences that center Black voices.
Yeah.
There was a studio album that was produced because of DKI resources. When we look at obviously the importance of children and youth, Black children, Black youth, Black families, and how DKI was intentional about serving and centering these, our Black youth and Black families. Brighter Futures in the performance of that programming was a direct way for us to measure what's been transpiring. Over 1,000 youth and families were touched, were helped, were supported because of DKI. These services are working to reverse the generational neglect and inequity of Black youth and families in specific areas. And these specific areas are education, physical and mental health, leadership and career development, financial resourcing and ingenuity, entrepreneurship, community building, and housing. So in these specific areas, DKI has had measurable impact for over 1,000 youth and children and families because of their resources, the DKI's resources.
Yeah.
Regarding economic mobility, DKI has created significant impact over a wide range of areas as well. Black entrepreneurship, Black wealth creation is something that needs to be central to how the overall Black diverse population in San Francisco experiences upliftment and inclusiveness. Over 201 businesses have been launched because of DKI. 200 businesses have received technical assistance and training. 34 new storefronts. Including 17 new businesses in the Black marketplace. The early educator pipeline has been increased to 9 new childcare licenses, and 22 are in the pipeline. When we look at health and wellness, another important pillar. Hundreds of families have been supported from the Dreamkeeper initiative in the form of chronic and physical mental health assistance, preventative care, important referrals that otherwise would not happen, case management services, and increased access to healthcare that youth and families otherwise would not have been receiving, but for Dreamkeeper initiative. Certainly last but not least, Black home ownership, which we've been talking about earlier. April Ryan so eloquently, but I really appreciated her emphasis on it. But Black home ownership is becoming more of a reality because of the Dreamkeeper initiative. 22 diverse Black families have been successfully purchased their homes because of Dreamkeeper. 3 additional Black families are in the process. 4 senior homeowners have received assistance with repairs on their homes. So it's, this is significant that homeownership is, these are measurable results because of this initiative and such an important economic mobility factor, homeownership. Mini grants. In regards to mini grants, over $500,000 in mini grants have been focused on community organizations. These grassroots Black service, Black-led organizations, civic-minded community members are centering their work in creating, driving events, driving, services and products because of this mini grant program that has been created and produced by the Dreamkeeper initiative. So one quote that came from a leader in one of the organizations is that unlike other programs, the mini grant program was unapologetically Black, uplifted the community, and trusted the community leaders. So I'm gonna leave with that and turn it to my colleague Jose.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Dr. Nami and Dr. Leck. All right, so my goal here is to share with you the data about government change that's been happening as a part of this program. I'm going to show you the data. It's to Dr. Davis's point today, without the data, sometimes people don't believe us. And so it's really important for us to center this really important data that we're seeing. What you're going to see, you don't see often, which is that this data is really spectacular and tells a story of a program and an initiative that has been delivered with love. Data like this is not possible without that. And the other piece of this is that what you'll see from this is that this is not only a substantial operation to move money into Black communities and to restore trust with Black-led and Black-serving organizations, it's also a campaign inside of government to transform the systems of how government partners with those leaders to address the issues in the Black community. And that is a form of reparations to repair the system that we don't always talk about, but is as important as any other part of this. So I'll tell you what we're looking at in the data. One, that there's an ongoing real community accountability and partnership that from conception to implementation, this program has actually been responsive to the community needs and the community desires that uplifted what this program was shaped into 2 years ago. 96% of grantees responded, and 100% of city employees that have been enmeshed in this program, that it is important that these programs were delivered in response to community needs. The second finding, that DKI programs provide dedicated funding that is reparative and proactive. That this is not just about, that these programs are really addressing unmet needs, long-standing needs, but also proactive about making sure that it is about building a better future for Black San Franciscans. 100% of the Black-led and Black-serving organizations that participated in this program attest that this program is addressing long unmet needs and underinvestment in San Francisco's Black communities. A number like that is not possible without love, without a program that has been really shaped and delivered with love. The third finding, city employees are making an effort to disperse this funding in a way that is done with trust to the Black-led and Black-serving organizations that it is meant to support. The interviews with city employees, we've heard from in conversations that this is really changing the way in which those departments that are involved in this program are really interrogating why is it so hard to partner and to contract with Black-led and Black-serving organizations, and removing barriers left and right to make these programs and those leaders feel resourced and supported by city government in a way that other departments in city government can learn from today. The fourth finding, that bolder investment is needed to really address the scope of the issues and the challenges for Black San Franciscans. There is resounding agreements that this has met needs, and yet the needs are vast, and that bolder investments are needed. And that's really clear from the city employees to the Black-led and Black-serving organizations that are part of this program, resounding agreements that this is the moment to actually make those investments bolder. And that is a call to action to all of you to hold your leaders in city government accountable to deepen the investments that are already proving so promising from the first 2 years of this program. One amazing statistic that I don't see here, but it really is about building Black opportunity, is that nearly 30% of the organizations that were supported by this program were organizations that had never engaged with city governments. And there are many more organizations and community leaders that are not supported by city government, but we've started to understand what it means to try to move money into those community organizations and community leaders, and it is really transforming the ways in which city government staff are seeing themselves as enablers of these community leaders, grassroots leaders that had never been involved. So we're learning a lot from a third of those grantees being entirely new to city government contracting, and that's a big deal.
Yes, that's
And this is the last point here, which is that this program has the potential to influence other government practices, right? It has the potential to be a beacon of ideas, of learning for the rest of the agencies that San Francisco, that engage and that are supposed to be serving Black San Franciscans. There's so much to learn from this initiative, how every metric is above 90%. That took a lot of hard work, and it's really an important time. And that this, from looking around the country, because we work in cities around the country, there is a lot that San Francisco can teach to the rest of the country about what it means to operationalize not a racial equity action plan, but racial equity action. And the word there's a lot of recommendations that we have and that have come from this research. Sarah, can you walk us through this really quickly so that we can just pass it to the Jamuia Research Institute? Thank you.
So in addition to trying to document the progress and impact of DKI in its first 2 years, we also came up with 8 recommendations to strengthen and sustain this initiative in the years to come. Super quickly, in the future, we hope that DKI will prioritize investments that actually lead to family-sustaining wages for the people who are implementing this work.
Yes.
Second, we think that DKI has already laid a pretty phenomenal groundwork for promoting economic rights for all, and we would love to see bolder investment in guaranteed income, home ownership, and entrepreneurship. In order to make sure that DKI is not just, is really leveraging the opportunity and the investment that is happening within DKI and pushing those practices to the rest of government and informing how the rest of government treats the communities that it has marginalized. We'd like to see deeper community among city employees. HRC already has started this work, and we know that other city employees are hungry for more. We'd like to see confidential support for the employees who are implementing this work, because change making is hard. And I know that those city employees are often marginalized within their own departments. We'd like to see trust-based, consistent, and simplified data and impact reporting across all DKI grantees and across all city agencies that are responsible for the DKI initiative. We'd like to see a unified set of 10-year impact goals that help to reinforce community and government commitment across the departments that are implementing DKI programs. And then to make sure that DKI continues to inform how the rest of city government works. We'd love to see the city leverage departmental racial equity plans to encourage departments to absorb programs and approaches that have been incubated within DKI and make them the regular course of business within city government. And we also would love to see the city develop and deliver a skills building series on anti-racist local government practices for all programmatic procurement and grantee support staff within the city. The city employees who've been implementing DKI have really been developing some new ways for government to treat the communities that it has marginalized, and we'd love to see those expanded in the next year. Thank you so much for welcoming us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And this is how the clicker, how. Yeah, that big button. That's how. So I'm gonna permission to speak. Permission to speak. That's the L. Okay, so now.
Need the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I just asked for permission to speak, because that's my elder. I'm an elder, but I'm a junior elder. And so our role was this, that all of this numbers and all that stuff, y'all, right? You need that so they can give you some money.
That's right.
But there's stories, there's stuff behind the numbers, right?
Yeah.
But I want to back it way, way up. Do we even understand this research thing? So this is what this is about. Okay, so we were charged with conducting virtual focus groups using an Africana studies approach. And that's the director of the Jumui Research Institute, Dr. Coates. Hey, hey. Wave to people. All right. So we are Africans, not because we were born in Africa, but because Africa is born in us.
All right.
Now y'all remember that, because we're gonna come back to this, it's gonna make a little more sense. Next, please, thank you. Okay, I already asked for permission, thank you. And now, we give thanks to our family ancestors. Next, please. And we have to acknowledge the land of the Mwekma people. Check them out, y'all. See how they look? Okay. Note that. Okay, so we live and walk in this land as our ancestors before us who traveled here before Columbus. Okay, next please. Now we do so with humility and pride because historian living ancestor Dr. John Henry Clark, AKA the bad boy of the academy, this is what he reminded us of. Africans journeyed far beyond Africa and merged their cultures, languages, and technical know-how with others without ever declaring a war against any group.
Remember that.
Yeah, now think about that, okay? So, go back, please. Africans left Africa with their humanity intact and respected the humanity of all other people in their journey abroad. So we didn't roll all over the world trying to conquer the world, okay? Next, please, thank you. So, Salubona, which is isiZulu for we see you. I said we, now it's just me and Dr. Lucky, but no, not really. It is our ancestors behind us. It is us, me right here, Dr. Lucky right here, and it's the future, okay? So when we say Sa-Ubona, your response is Yabo Sa-Ubona, because you telling me your ancestors, you, and those that come after you, see us too. So here we go. Sa-Ubona. Yabo Sa-Ubona. Look at y'all speaking EC Zulu. Next slide, please. Okay, so guess what? Me and Dr. Lucky, we were not supposed to be on this stage. The ones who were supposed to be here is our students. But guess what? Serena, she had to work today. Remy down in LA, she had an appointment, and Tariq has stuff to do. So this was not supposed to be us, it was supposed to be them. So we work with this group of students on a biofeedback project, and that's why we know them well, and it was easy to work with them. Next slide, please. So this presentation is in honor of our amazing Jagnees who became student sesh. Next slide. So Dr. Lucky and I, we are the Jagnots. And that means we're the principal investigator of the Jagnees. Elder Sage, Elder Warner, okay? So, Dr. Lucky, Dr. Nunn. So this is Serena. She is born and raised in San Francisco, okay? Got 2 children, boy and a girl, right? And she's the Community Development Equity Officer for San Francisco Unified School District. Hey, Serena, okay? So give her, clap her up. Okay, next please. And then we got Tyreek Milner. He's a psychology major. He a transplant to San Francisco. He came from Atlanta, and he's an Army veteran, okay? And next, and then we got our African living in Black San Francisco diaspora. She was raised in the UK. She does like Brit, you know, with that British accent. Y'all be like, oh, how you that doctor speak like that? That's her, okay? And so she's an artist. And so let me explain what JEGNA is. So JEGNA, the goal of JEGNAship is to provide opportunities for the younger generation, our students, community members, and young professionals to connect with trusted elders, me and Dr. Lucker. So they are JEGNAs, right? And we are JEGNAs. Now, we don't use mentor and mentor because check out the reason why. That's some Greek stuff that we don't do that. So, oh, you know what? That was all on you.
That's okay. It's all right. You know, it's okay.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello? Yeah. Okay. Our student sesh demonstrated the 5 C's of being a JEGNA. They expressed confidence. They were competent in how they helped to roll out the focus group process. They were conscientious. They had conscientiousness because they were aware of what was going on around them. They were committed to this project. It took hours and hours of work and meetings, but these 3 JEGNAs were committed to making sure that we rolled out this focus group in the right way. Because you know, this wasn't something that came easy. You know, the mayor's office said, we want you all to do this Jamulia research. And so we had to make sure that our JEGNAs were committed, and they were. They contributed, once again, hours and hours of their time. And not only that, but these 3 young people were on top of it. They came up with ideas and telling us, no, we don't want you to do it like that. And I'm like, oh, you telling me that? But they were on top of it. They were aware, like I said, they had their ears to the community. So they knew what the community needed in focus group processes. Next, please.
Oh, wait, we supposed to do this one together.
Here. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
They are what our ancestors fought and died for. We are grateful for the opportunity to be their JEGNAs.
All right.
So, the Black community in research, problematic history, serious, and it continues. And so I could talk about the Monahan study, all kind of different stuff, but we know research ain't been kind to us. Next slide, please. So the reason that African Americans do not participate in research, distrust,
Right.
lack of understanding of the informed consent in the research process, right? Insufficient recruitment. You ain't getting everybody. Why don't you go get right now, the real folk, right? Okay? And then stigma. Whoa, I'm talking to them white people. Oh, fine, what's up? Snitch, snitch, right? Okay? So stigma when you do it. And then financial check. What? I'm no longer enslaved. I have to do this for free.
Right.
Oh, but then sometimes I shouldn't be doing it because I'm just trying to get some money. So that's a challenge too. Because then when that happens, you're messing up the data. Oh, but you gotta eat. Oh, I'm Black, I understand. Okay. Next slide. The Black community matters. Next slide, please. Okay, so methodology also matters. So methods allows the researcher to collect data, but methodologies combines methods with paradigms, assumptions, theories, concepts, and ideals that give life, interpretation, and meaning to the data. So in other words, the method you use will tell you what's really up, okay? It's the story behind the numbers. So why an Africana studies approach matters? For oppressed people and their descendants, it is important that the intellectual tools guiding the relationship between them and who or what they study is culturally relevant and emancipatory. You ain't supposed to just get paid and run out of my community, right? You're supposed to give me, and don't try to empower me. Do not. Because you know why? I give you the power, I can take it away. Give me agency. Teach me how to fish, right? Don't give me no fish. So that's important. So Methods, oh, I typed that wrong, to collect data, okay. Basically, next slide. This is McDougal's book. Here it is right here. Okay, this is the book we use. So what we said we were gonna do, we made sure that we were coming from, that we were coming from an Africana studies perspective, right? Because we did not start enslaved here. So we had to go way back, okay? So, next please, thank you. So we used an Afrocentric paradigm. So I'm not gonna read all of that stuff, but basically, we thought about this in a way that free Black people, pre-colonial, before anybody came raiding the place, right? Looting us, human trafficking us. So we needed to go all the way back there, okay? So we used an Afrocentric paradigm. Next slide, please. So we used the worldview paradigm. There are actually two worldviews. There's a European and there's an African, and get ready, y'all gonna get up and learn about that, okay? And so there's 4 components: epistemology, axiology, ontology, oncology. Cosmology, ontology, epistemology, axiology, ontology, and cosmology. And you will learn how to do those things. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is a real important quote by Dr. Chancellor Williams. He was blind, but he could see this. Africans and persons of African descent must assume the primary responsibility and leadership in historical research. If we are to continue to lead practically all important historical research and writing concerning the Black race to the white man, then we must be prepared to accept uncomplainingly the white man's point of view. So, what has happened to us as a people? Something called menticide. Now, my Native American people, genocide, us menticide. They tried to destroy our mind and our culture. Yeah. So that's the new vocabulary word, menticide. That's what they did to Black people. Tried to do genocide, didn't work, menticide. Okay, so, and there's also something called epistemological racism. And that's what happens when white men control Western structures of knowledge validation, when they tell you what the truth is. Next slide. And so, there are strategies for increasing African American participation. These are the different things. We just gonna keep moving, right? Because y'all can have my slide, okay? So these are the mistakes that they make when they do research on us. Scientific colonialism. Okay, don't understand me. Okay, so transsubstantive error. So that's when it's like you think you understand when you really don't. And then there's a whole bunch of different things. A real important one there is ethological historism. That means I have no history. We got history. And it started before they stole us, okay? Next slide, please. This one, okay, I'm gonna read this slow. Let's see. No, you know what? I want somebody, we tired of my voice. Can you read this one? Yeah, yeah, and read it. Everybody listen to this. Listen to it and go with them, okay? Because this is really important.
Researchers have to understand the reality and the culture of the participating population. For example, asking a question as simple as, do you put your kids to bed, will mean different things to different people, and may mean something totally different to you now than when you were younger. Growing up, my mom told me to put my butt to bed, and that's what I did. If she were asked that question back then, she might say no. But the reality is, she did put me to bed because she was home caring for her family, making sure we were fed, bathed, and not in the bed, and in the bed. She would probably answer no, because the generalized version is putting your kids to bed, reading to them until they fall asleep, and turning off the light. Researchers have to understand these many nuances to truly assess the population.
You understand how different that is? Okay, so they told me that 7 minutes. Everybody up? Yeah. If you can. Okay. So now, remember we talked about an African worldview? So we're gonna do some kinesthetic stuff. So let's make the world. So world, that's the world, okay? Everybody has a world view. All right? Everybody got a world view, right? And so no matter who you are. And so now, you're gonna
touch your brain up here like you're thinking, but point your pistol down. Don't point at nobody, right? The first one is epistemology. Epistemology. Got it? Now put your hand out and act like this is an axiology. Axiology. Okay, now we gonna jump, okay? Ready? Ontology. Y'all got it. And cosmology. Hey, y'all got it. So the 4 components of a worldview are what? What's the first one? Epistemology, axiology, ontology, and cosmology. Y'all got it. So everybody has a worldview, right? And so the African worldview, ours is different, right? So I need you to like Wakanda up right now, okay? What's up, right? Okay, everybody, my brother, you know, I want them old, you know, right here. You know, them old black people looking who ain't doing it. Okay. All right, so now we go. Not one, but 2 worlds. Let's do it again. Not one, but 2 worlds. The visible and the invisible. Now watch this, y'all. This is us. Each person is connected. That's what I'm talking about, right? So from the beginning, we can remember? Okay, from the beginning. So not one, but 2 worlds. The visible and the invisible. Each person is connected. What we connected to a single energy source. Move that, come on, energy. Come on. We got energy. So black people, we energy beings, y'all. Come on. You move that energy. White people are too, they just forgot. So, because of that energy, now check out what I'm gonna do. It allows us to be in the past, the present, and the future, all at the same time. Y'all got it? Yeah. So for us, our worldview is different. It's a visible and an invisible, and we're connected, right? And we're energy beings. Everybody got that? Yeah. All right, last thing, then y'all can sit down. Okay, so when we did this African way of looking at things, we had to do a Sankofa thing. Sankofas go back. So here you go. So stand up, and now you want to reach all the way back, reach back and grab some stuff. Come on, bring it forward. You got it? Got it? Okay. Other side, reach back. Bring it forward. Now you got your African stuff, right? But okay, so now I need you to take and lift it up. Lift it up to something higher than you. Let it go, because we don't want no junk stuff, right? Let it go. And then we're going to pray that we get back the good stuff. So now, open up your hand to get the good stuff, right? Yeah. Now, close it. And now, bring it down to you. Touch your elbows. Sankofa. Right? And see, let me tell you how people steal stuff. When they be doing this, they ain't got it all. Y'all see that everywhere, right? Yeah. Sankofa. Okay. Sankofa. So you go back and get the stuff from the past, you bring it forward. That's what you use. Because I ain't trying to be naked. I mean, you know. Right. But yeah, so everybody, so we did a Sankofa process. We went back to bring stuff forward. Okay, so I got to sit down so you can see what I'm doing. You have to, because we want to show you the slides our students created. No, way down. Way. We were real. Yeah, we were like real thorough. Okay. Yeah. Keep going. Because remember, the researchers were said we use the divine tongue to Hootie, right? We have African logic. We're connected. So African beings. Keep going. That wait, go back. See the Sankofa sign? See that? That's the symbol, the Indicra symbol, and then the bird. See, the bird is reaching back in the egg, pulling forward. Okay, keep going.
Okay, what we did was, once again, working with our students, the students that we introduced you to Remy, Serena, and Julie. You know, this will be cut up. I guess I should have set it up.
You can just flip.
Anyway, our students were able to craft the grantee invitation because we had to invite the grantees into the focus groups. So our students, our JEGNAs, were able to craft the greeting for the. They also crafted the community invitation. Then what they did was they crafted the protocols for the Zoom focus groups. They had a welcome. And once again, we were in collaboration with HRA as well as DKI. And we always wanted to give thanks to our African ancestors. And one of our JEGNAs created this slide for us, absolutely beautiful. Actually, they all created all the slides.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get you.
Okay, to the good part. Okay, this is the research that we did once again in collaboration. We were invited to the city of San Francisco that asked us to to help them understand how this initiative impacted the lives of Black San Franciscans. Okay, and this is what we presented to the focus group attendees, what we wanted to know. And then they also crafted the protocols once again before we got started on the questions. We had a little icebreaker that connected them to San Francisco where we would be able to collect some information about who was in the room. There were 6 questions, and these were the 6 questions. Move along. You
can just keep
how did they come? And it was all about their interaction related to being given the grants. But they were in the room being able to tell us as though they were at a kitchen table being served. They were very comfortable. And we did allow our JEGNAs to ask the questions, to collect the information. And once again, they were able to engage each and every participant that was in the room, in the Zoom room. And even when someone appeared to not want to contribute to a question, our JEGNAs were crafty enough to say, we didn't hear from you, so-and-so. What do you have to say about your interaction with the grant? Then, even at the last moment, if someone else had something they wanted to add, we asked them for final remarks. Dr. Nellie and I just sat back and allowed our JEGNAs to facilitate the process. And at the end, we gave thanks to our partners who helped us with this process.
And then, of course, again, we had to give honor to our Queen Khalifa. Y'all know California was named after her, right? Yeah. So, and again, we came before Columbus. So we were training them to be researchers and power to mob people. So they're supposed to work for the future, right? Not just for their own personal gain. Next slide, please. And we want them to speak to prosperity because we come back to San Francisco. We're doing it different this time, okay? And so we want to end with normal word medicine from our JEGNA session. Dr. Lucky. Okay, so,
all right.
So next, go ahead.
The invited guest.
Go slow.
The invited guest. I got an invitation to join them for a meal. Just an invitation without any details. Don't know what's on the menu, or if I need to bring a dish, pasta, a salad, or maybe even fish. Then came a follow-up to a focus group. What is that? Will I be served soup? I bet you gotta follow along. Much to my surprise, the researchers were comprised of Jegnas and Jegnees who knew how to serve me. They knew that sitting at the table was more than going through the research motions, but touching all domains, cognitive, physical, behavioral, and emotions. Africana research based in inclusivity and cosmology, with everything interconnected. Ubuntu, the collective voice of I am, because we are, therefore I am. They knew how to engage my spirit, the soul of the invited guest. Honoring my personhood as a familyhood in the neighborhood of the invited guest. Only they could scope the selections for the feast, fill our stories, comprehend and embrace the inspiring spices and flavors of authenticity that stimulate, captivate, and illuminate. African people are not the observers. We are the experience with no empty space, no assumptions or generalizations. Time and commitment are the ingredients that must be on the shopping list, along with Black Jegnas and Jegnees that respond to the participants, not to promote, exploit, or entertain, but to give agency and entrain. Not mentors or mentees, but Jegnas and Jegnees. We are Black San Franciscans filled with diversity, not for entertainment, but entrainment. When you set the menu with the first, second, or triangulated course, a full meal and not table scraps, please remember how to serve the invited guest.
And so, on behalf of our Jegne Research Set, Remy, Tariq, and Serena, we say Giabonga, which means thank you, and we say Salakashe, which means remain well.
Thank you.
Hold on, get a picture. Hold on.
As the panelists take their photo, I just want to thank everyone. So there are a couple of changes in the program. Thank you for staying with us. Can we get one more round of applause for And so our concurrent sessions are going to start at 1:40, because our afternoon panel is not going to happen. So at 1:40, we're going to have concurrent sessions. On the first floor is where you'll find the Education in Action Workshop and the Entrepreneurship Action and Workshop. So the entrepreneurship will be on the first floor. On the second floor, in this main auditorium, in this room, there will be the Arts in Action with the Life in the Arts. And then on the third floor is where you will find the Healing in Action with My Piece of Peace. So those are the changes. Third floor, My Piece of Peace. First floor is the Entrepreneurship and Education. And this room is the Arts. And we're going to begin those sessions at 1:40. And then this afternoon, we'll have a break after the sessions, and then we will come back to close with Mayor Breed and some closing remarks, and then the reception will begin. So thank you. Please enjoy lunch. Many of you have already started eating, but thank you, and we will see you back at 1:40.
Woo!
Woo! Well, there we have it, community. We're gonna go ahead and take a break for lunch. Hey, this has been powerful. I know y'all been watching. Great stuff going on, a lot of information. We talk about empowering the people, the Dream Keeper Initiative, how we impact the community, great resolutions. We're trying to come up, dream forward, keep pushing forward, Black excellence, Black power, man. That's what we're trying to do here. And it's just happening, man. And this is what it's all about. And we're going to continue to do our part here at both sides of the conversation, to continue to uplift the voices of the people, to make sure we are blessing the people, impacting our community. And that's what we do. You see, Dr. Sai, this has been great. And we can go out to some breakout sessions. My guy Don Cannon is here, catching all of the footage, making sure the people in the community get to see the work that's happening. This Dream Keeper Initiative is moving our community forward. Now you out there have to do your part to make sure that the work that's happening continue to happen and the impact of our people is happening, man. Both sides of the conversation, all power to the people.